Brinnacle's ice finger of death. First reported in Antarctica in the 1960s, these icicle-like formations start with fresh water seeping beneath sea ice, causing surrounding water to rapidly freeze. But has science uncovered all the facts about these so-called death spikes?
We're taking a mesmerizing look at what a hurricane looks like.
Of water that does not want to freeze at the bottom. So this is north up. You can see the exact gyromagnetic precession
become more plausible. According to AZ Central, Thermetics has developed a heat-sensitive thermomannequin named Andy, which has the remarkable ability to perspire and cool itself off in hot weather conditions. In other words, we now have a sweaty
hypothesized to exist in the universe. They are the shortcuts through space-times between two locations, connected by a bridge called a wormhole's throat, featuring an entrance and an exit. The idea of wormholes was first proposed by Ludwig Flamm in 1916, and later expanded upon by Albert Einstein and his colleague Nathan.
What do you mean, choose? We don't understand.
Choose the form of the destructor.
I get it. Oh, very cute. Whatever we think of. If we think of J. Edgar Hoover will appear and destroy us.
Skynet, you need to stop it. And Skynet said, oh, you've asked me to destroy myself. You are the enemy. You must be destroyed.
John said, and I stood up on the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Now note carefully, this is what is so important about this, and this is what I want to call your attention to, and let this settle in. And the dragon, that's the devil, gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
Sensory input, and so your brain assumes ownership of the fake hand because it feels it being touched in the same spot as your real hand, so it thinks the fake hand is
change our capabilities.
Yes, it will enable anyone who wants to have superhuman cognition. It's an interface problem, data rate problem. If you solve the data rate problem, then I think we can hang on to human-machine symbiosis through the long term. And then people may decide that they want to retain their biological self or not. I think they'll probably choose to retain their biological self.
Versus some sort of Ray Kurzweil scenario where they download themselves into a computer?
You will be essentially snapshotted into a computer at any time. If your biological self dies, you could probably just upload into a new unit. Literally.
God is a divine energy, and the shape of that divine energy is the flower of life. The frequencies that emanate from between these patterns literally jingles matter into existence. This image here is the flower of life atomically etched into a stone pillar at the Osirian temple in Egypt. Patterns in the universe, because why? You're literally looking at the face of God. There is no man that's called God. God is a divine frequency.
But you have now strongly religious people trying to knock down the science door and tell the science people what to teach. By the way, in a free country where the federal
complex object in the known universe. If we were to build a computer that can model your brain, that computer would be the size of a city block. It would consume the energy of a nuclear power plant, and it would require a river to cool it down. And yet your brain only operates on 20 watts of power. 20 watts. So when someone calls you a dim bulb, that's a compliment. And your brain works on 1 hamburger. I mean, amazing what the brain can do.
that the atoms in your body were manufactured in the cores of stars billions of years ago. Stars that exploded. If they didn't, these atoms would be locked away forever. They exploded, scattering that enrichment across the galaxy. And out of that enrichment forms planets, life, people. And so when you look up in the night sky, if you feel small and lonely, the knowledge that you're connected in this way to the stars, that we are not just figuratively, we're literally stardust, can give you a sense of belonging in what might otherwise come across to you as a cold and heartless universe.
I know my age, I know where I live.
Yeah, that's not you, though. If you ask the average person who they are, they'll give you their name. They'll say, I'm Bob Proctor, but I'm not. Bob and Proctor are two words. My parents give them to me. They're called names, but it's not me. It's my name. Then somebody will say, well, this is me, but this isn't me either. It's my body. Like, you never phone down here to the studio and say, body won't be in today. It's sick.
Okay.
You know, we don't say am hand or am leg. It's my hand, my leg, my body, my name. Who am I? See, I think we live simultaneously on three planes of understanding. We're spiritual creatures, we have an intellect, and we live in physical bodies.
Okay.
But because we lack awareness or understanding of who we are, we're totally locked into a physical world, and we let things outside of us control us.
It's game. Inside all of us, it's all about thinking. How strange it feels. The world is truly beyond imagination at the microscopic level. And to know things related to such signs, we can follow.
We see on the moon could actually be a form of sunburn.
The leading hypothesis is that the magnetic fields are blocking some portion of the solar wind from reaching the surface.
The solar wind is the sun's continuous outflow of particles and radiation that fills the inner solar system. Earth's magnetic field provides a strong global shield against it. However, the magnetic field on the moon is much weaker, and it forms only small, localized bubbles of protection. In these spots, the sun's particles can be reflected back into the solar wind or funneled to nearby regions. The shielded areas under the magnetic field form pale swirls. Those bordering parts become darker. The contrast is so prominent, we can actually see it from Earth.
The magnetic fields in some region are locally acting as this magnetic sunscreen. You know, sometimes you put on sunscreen and you miss like a tiny little bit, and then you have a really bright red spot on your skin where you missed it. That's in some ways the analogy of this sort of region of the moon that is extra exposed.
Unfortunately, the moon's patches of magnetic field are not robust enough to completely protect human explorers from the sun's radiation. But further study of lunar magnetic fields could lay the groundwork for future innovations.
Well, what if we got a strong enough magnetic field that perhaps we could produce artificially? That's a question that I think remains to be answered, but the crustal magnetic fields on the moon and lunar swirl